The world at the turn of the 20th century was changing faster than ever before. Empires ruled the globe. Technology was reshaping industry, communication, and soon warfare. But beneath the splendor of progress, the old world was showing cracks. Monarchs were aging. Workers were organizing. Nations were arming. The peace held, but it was uneasy. In Berlin, Kaiser Wilhelm II posed proudly in military regalia, eager to prove Germany's strength. In St. Petersburg, Tsar Nicholas II clung to an empire still struggling to modernize. In Vienna, the Habsburgs presided over dozens of ethnic groups, Slavs, Magyars, Czechs, Croats, held together more by fear than unity. Europe had become a web of alliances and anxieties. Germany's rise unsettled Britain and France. The Balkans seethed with nationalist unrest. Military leaders across the continent were preparing for war, but no one could predict when or how devastating it would be. Beneath the surface, the foundations were already shaking. Two rival camps had emerged: the Triple Alliance, Germany, Austria-Hungary and Italy, and the Triple Entente, France, Russia, and Britain. These were not just diplomatic partnerships. They were dominoes, waiting to fall. At the same time, nationalism was stoking the flames. Slavic peoples in the Balkans longed for independence from Austro-Hungarian rule. In Berlin and Vienna, workers protested against privilege and monarchy. In colonies like Ireland, India, and Egypt, the call for self-rule was growing louder. Europe, despite its power, was standing on a powder keg. The arms race only added fuel. Germany and Britain competed to dominate the seas. France and Germany glared at each other across fortified borders. Military spending soared. By 1910, Europe was spending more on weapons than ever before. And with this militarism came a dangerous illusion that if war came, it would be brief, glorious, decisive. Generals drafted detailed war plans. Young men dreamed of medals. No one imagined years of trenches, of poison gas, of unimaginable loss. Ironically, many of the monarchs who would lead their nations into war were family. King George V of Britain, Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany, and Tsar Nicholas II of Russia were all first cousins, grandsons of Queen Victoria. But blood ties would not stop bloodshed. Wilhelm, the ambitious German emperor, sought a place in the sun, a vast colonial empire and global prestige. Nicholas, the hesitant Tsar, struggled to contain revolution at home. Franz Joseph of Austria-Hungary, old, rigid and increasingly out of touch, held together an empire that was falling apart. And then there were the people, restless, divided and unheard. In Serbia, nationalist movements grew louder, pushing back against Austro-Hungarian control. In Russia, workers struck for bread and dignity. In Africa and Asia, colonial subjects resisted exploitation. This was not a continent at peace. It was a continent on edge. And all it needed was a spark. In Berlin, German generals quietly finalized the Schlieffen Plan, a sweeping attack through Belgium to crush France before Russia could mobilize. In Paris, officers longed for revenge over the 1871 loss of Alsace-Lorraine. In Vienna, leaders watched Serbia, seeking an excuse to assert dominance in the Balkans. When war finally came, the powerful were not surprised. What shocked them was how quickly it spiraled beyond their control. And so, Europe waited. In cafes, people read the headlines and shrugged. In royal palaces, alliances were toasted. In the countryside, farmers harvested grain. And in Sarajevo, a 19-year-old named Gavrilo Princip waited with a pistol in his coat. The summer of 1914 would be Europe's last summer of innocence. On June 28, 1914, the world shifted. A single gunshot echoed through Sarajevo. A future king was dead. And within 6 weeks, the world would be at war. It began as a Sunday visit. Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary and his wife, Sophie, had come to Sarajevo on a goodwill tour. Their route was published in advance. Security was minimal, and 6 young men waited. The assassins were Bosnian Serbs, members of the secret nationalist group known as the Black Hand. Their mission? To strike a blow for Serbian independence. Armed with pistols and grenades, they lined the motorcade's route. One attacker threw a bomb. It bounced off the car and exploded under another vehicle. The Archduke insisted on continuing, but fate wasn't finished. Later that morning, the driver took a wrong turn, pulling directly in front of a cafe where Gavrilo Princip happened to be. The car stalled. Princip stepped forward, raised his pistol, and fired 2 shots. Sophie was hit in the abdomen, Franz Ferdinand in the neck. She died first. He followed minutes later, whispering, "Sophie, don't die. Stay alive for our children." Austria-Hungary was stunned. Franz Ferdinand was not beloved, but he was the future. His assassination wasn't just a tragedy. It was a political earthquake. And Vienna blamed Serbia. Austria's leaders saw an opportunity, not just to punish Serbia, but to crush it completely. They turned to Germany. Kaiser Wilhelm II gave them the infamous blank check. Full support, even if it meant war. Austria prepared a deliberately harsh ultimatum. On July 23rd, it was delivered to Serbia. Among its demands, the right for Austrian officials to operate within Serbia's borders, something no sovereign nation could accept. Serbia agreed to most terms, but rejected that one. Austria declared war on July 28th. Russia, sworn to protect Serbia, began mobilizing. Germany declared war on Russia on August 1st, then on France, August 3rd. To reach France, Germany invaded neutral Belgium. That violation brought Britain into the war on August 4th. In just over a month, Europe collapsed into war. The great powers, tied by alliances, driven by pride, stumbled into catastrophe. Mobilization became movement. Movement became war. Across Europe, men rushed to enlist. They were told it would all be over by Christmas. But no one truly understood what lay ahead. Not the generals who clung to old strategies. Not the soldiers who smiled in photographs. Not the families waving from crowded train stations. The war had begun, and there was no turning back.